because my family had no idea I'd been the governor's chief policy director for 3 years, overseeing a $2.3 billion infrastructure initiative that was about to be announced to the world. My name is Riley Chin, and this is the story of how my sister tried to erase me from the most important day of her life, only to discover I'd been shaping our state's future while she thought I was a failure. Growing up as the younger Chin sister meant living in permanent shadow. My sister Madison was everything our parents valued. Pre-med at Northwestern, perfect SAT scores, engagement to a cardiac surgeon named Dr. Trevor Walsh whose family owned a chain of medical clinics. Madison was beautiful, ambitious, and never let me forget that I was neither. I was the artistic one, the creative type, which in my family was code for probably won't amount to much. When I was 17, I told my parents I wanted to study urban planning and public policy instead of medicine or law. My mother actually set down her teacup and stared at me. "Riley, be serious. How do you plan to support yourself with a degree in city planning? It's urban planning and there are actually a lot of opportunities in..." "Madison is going to be a surgeon," my father interrupted. "She'll make a real difference in people's lives." "You want to, what? Fill potholes?" Madison smirked from across the dinner table. "Maybe she can get a job at the DMV." The whole family laughed. I went to the University of Illinois anyway, studying urban planning and public administration. My parents didn't come to my graduation. They were attending Madison's white coat ceremony at Northwestern Medical School. "We'll celebrate you another time," Mom promised over the phone. "You understand that Madison's achievement is more significant, right?" I understood perfectly. The real fracture happened when I was 24. I'd been working for 2 years as a junior policy analyst at a nonprofit focused on infrastructure development. The pay was terrible, $38,000 a year, but I was learning how cities actually functioned, how policy decisions affected real people's lives. Madison had just finished her residency and gotten engaged to Trevor. My parents threw them an engagement party that cost more than my annual salary. The guest list included senators, hospital board members, and the medical elite of Chicago. I wore my best dress, a simple navy sheath from Target that I'd owned for 3 years. Madison took one look at me and whispered loud enough for nearby guests to hear, "Did you seriously come here looking like someone's secretary?" Her friends laughed. Trevor looked uncomfortable but said nothing. At dinner, when someone asked what I did for work, my father answered before I could, "Riley works for some little nonprofit. We're still hoping she'll find her way to something more substantial." "Policy work is substantial," I said quietly. "We're working on transit equity programs that help low-income families access." "That's nice, honey," my mother interrupted. "Trevor, tell us about your new position at Northwestern Memorial." I stopped attending family events after that. Madison called it being dramatic. I called it self-preservation. The only family member who understood was my grandmother, Papa, my mother's mother who'd immigrated from Taiwan in the 1970s. She'd call me every week. "Riley, do you like your work?" she'd ask in Mandarin. "I love it, Papa." "Then you're successful. Don't let them make you feel small." She died 2 years later. She left me $50,000, her entire savings. The note said, "Build something that matters." What my family didn't know was that my little nonprofit job had turned into something extraordinary. At 26, I'd been recruited by Governor Patricia Morrison's transition team as a junior policy advisor. Governor Morrison was a rare political force, a fiscal conservative with progressive social policies, someone who actually cared about infrastructure and long-term planning over short-term political wins. I'd written a white paper on equitable infrastructure development that caught the attention of her chief of staff. They brought me on board to help shape the administration's approach to transportation, utilities, and urban development. I was good at it. Really good. Within 18 months, I'd been promoted to senior policy advisor. By 29, I was director of infrastructure policy, overseeing a team of 43 people and a $2.3 billion state initiative to rebuild roads, bridges, water systems, and public transit across Illinois. I negotiated with federal agencies. I testified before legislative committees. I managed relationships with contractors, unions, and environmental groups. I turned the governor's ambitious infrastructure vision into actual policy that would affect 12.7 million people. Governor Morrison called me her secret weapon. The chief of staff said I had the best political instincts she'd seen in 20 years. I'd been featured in governing magazines, top 40 under 40 public servants, and had been a panelist at 3 national conferences on infrastructure policy. My salary was $187,000 a year. I'd saved aggressively and invested wisely. I owned a beautiful condo in Lincoln Park worth $540,000, fully paid off thanks to Papa's gift as a down payment and my disciplined saving. But I never told my family any of this. Why would I? So they could suddenly be proud. So Madison could find ways to diminish it? So my parents could take credit for raising me right? No. I built my career in silence, and it was the most liberating thing I'd ever done. Every family gathering I skipped, every phone call I kept short, every time I deflected questions about my work with vague answers. It was strategic. I was building something real while they assumed I was still struggling at a nonprofit. Madison thought I was living in a studio apartment in a bad neighborhood. In reality, I had 3 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan, and a home office where I drafted policy that would reshape our state. My parents thought I was barely scraping by. I had $340,000 in retirement accounts and another $180,000 in liquid investments. They thought I was a disappointment. I was having dinner with the governor once a month, discussing strategy for an infrastructure bill that would be her signature achievement. 6 months before Madison's wedding, Governor Morrison called me into her office. She was in her late 50s, sharp-eyed and direct. "Riley, I'm announcing the Morrison Infrastructure Initiative in 4 months. It's going to be the largest state infrastructure investment in 30 years. I want you as Chief Policy Director heading the entire program." "Ma'am, you've earned this. You've done the work, managed the politics, and kept us on track. The announcement will be at the spring gala. Black tie, full press corps, every state senator and representative. I'm making you the face of this program alongside me." "That's a huge amount of visibility," I said carefully. "You've avoided the spotlight brilliantly so far. But this is too big to hide behind. The program needs a director people can trust. That's you." I thought about my family finding out. About Madison's reaction. About my parents realizing what I'd built while they dismissed me. "I'm honored, Governor." "Good. Because I'm also introducing you as the daughter I never had in my speech. My chief of staff thinks it's too personal, but I don't care. You've been more loyal and hardworking than anyone in my administration. I want people to know what you mean to me. If you've ever been treated like the family disappointment, hit that like button and subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss what happened next." Madison's wedding was set for Saturday, April 15th. The Morrison Infrastructure Initiative announcement and spring gala was scheduled for Saturday, April 15th. Same day. Same city. The universe has a sense of humor. I'd received Madison's wedding invitation 4 months earlier, an elaborate envelope with gold foil and a wax seal. Very Madison. The RSVP card was pre-filled with my name and 1 guest. I RSVP'd that I'd attend alone. Then 3 weeks before the wedding I got the text. It came at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday while I was reviewing budget projections for the infrastructure bill. "Madison, Riley, we need to talk about the wedding." "Me, what about it?" "Madison, Trevor's family is very image conscious. The photos are going to be in society pages. We're trying to present a certain aesthetic." I stared at my phone, already knowing where this was going. "Madison, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come." "Me, you're uninviting me from your wedding?" "Madison, don't be dramatic. I'm just saying that your presence would complicate things. You don't really fit with the rest of the guest list. Trevor's family doesn't understand your lifestyle." "Me, high lifestyle?" "Madison, you know what I mean. The nonprofit work, the modest living situation. It's just not the image we're going for." Mom and Dad agree. They discussed this. They decided together that I wasn't good enough to be photographed at Madison's perfect wedding. "Madison, don't come to my wedding, your presence would ruin our photos. We'll do a family dinner another time. This is easier for everyone." I sat there for a full minute looking at that text. Part of me wanted to rage. Part of me wanted to send the screenshot of my last pay stub. Part of me wanted to tell her exactly who I was and what I'd become. Instead, I typed 2 letters. "Okay. Madison, I knew you'd understand. Thanks for being mature about this." I didn't respond. I called Governor Morrison's chief of staff that night. Rachel, I need to confirm something about the gala. What time is my introduction? You're on stage at 8:15 p.m. Governor speaks for 6 minutes, introduces you, you speak for 4 minutes about the infrastructure program, then we do the unveiling of the proposal display and take questions from the press. Why? Just wanted to be prepared. Riley, you've been prepared for this for 3 years. You're going to be amazing. Madison's wedding ceremony was at 5 p.m. Reception at 6:30 p.m. The gala started at 7 p.m. with cocktails, program at 8 p.m. Perfect timing. The day of Madison's wedding arrived sunny and beautiful. I spent the morning at the governor's office doing a final review of the infrastructure proposal. The numbers were staggering. $2.3 billion over 5 years, 47,000 jobs created, 1,800 miles of roads repaired, 340 bridges reinforced, water systems updated in 82 communities. This was my legacy. 3 years of work. And tonight the whole state would know my name. At 3 p.m. I went home and started getting ready for the gala. I'd chosen a deep emerald gown by Jason Wu. Elegant, professional, stunning. It cost $2,800, which I justified as a work expense for the most important night of my career. My stylist came to do my hair and makeup. Professional but not overdone. Elegant updo, classic makeup, diamond earrings. Papa had left me. At 5:47 p.m. while Madison was saying, "I do," at the Peninsula Hotel, I was in a car heading to the Chicago Hilton for the governor's gala. At 6:30 p.m. while Madison was taking formal photos with her bridesmaids, I was being mic'd backstage, reviewing my speaking notes one final time. At 7:15 p.m., while Madison was making her grand entrance to her reception, I was shaking hands with state senators and representatives in the gala's cocktail hour. "Riley, big night," Senator Martinez said, grasping my hand warmly. "I've been watching your work on this infrastructure bill. Brilliant strategy getting the environmental groups and the construction unions on the same page. Thank you, Senator. It's been a team effort. Don't be modest. We all know you're the architect of this whole thing." At 8 p.m. the program began. I sat at the head table with Governor Morrison, her husband, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Speaker of the House. A seat of honor. Governor Morrison squeezed my hand under the table. "Ready. Ready." At 8:15 p.m. exactly as planned, Governor Morrison took the stage. The room went silent. 400 of the most powerful people in Illinois politics, business, and society. "Good evening," the governor began. "Tonight I'm here to announce the largest infrastructure investment in Illinois state history. The Morrison Infrastructure Initiative will transform how our state moves, how our water flows, and how our communities connect. It's a $2.3 billion commitment to our future." Applause filled the room. But this program isn't about me. It's about the incredible team that made it possible. And at the heart of that team is someone who embodies everything public service should be. She's brilliant, tireless, and completely unconcerned with credit or recognition. She just wants to do the work and do it right. I could feel my heart pounding. 3 years ago I met Riley Chin. She was a junior policy advisor with a white paper that completely changed how I thought about infrastructure equity. I promoted her because she earned it. I trusted her because she proved herself. And tonight, I'm proud to introduce her as Chief Policy Director of the Morrison Infrastructure Initiative. The spotlight found me at the head table. Riley has overseen every aspect of this program, coordinating with 43 team members, negotiating with federal agencies, managing relationships with contractors and environmental groups, and turning ambitious vision into actual policy. She's 29 years old and she's already shaping the future of this state. Governor Morrison's voice grew emotional. "I have 2 sons and I love them dearly. But Riley Chin is the daughter I never had. She's made me prouder than I can express. Riley, please join me on stage. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight." I walked to the stage in a dream. The applause was thunderous. Cameras flashed. Governor Morrison embraced me like family before handing me the microphone. I spoke for 4 minutes about the infrastructure program, the communities we'd serve, the jobs we'd create, the legacy we'd build. My voice was steady, professional, passionate. Then came the Q&A with the press. The questions were sharp, technical, probing. I answered every single one with specific data, clear explanations, and confidence earned from 3 years of mastering every detail. After the formal program ended, the real work began. Shaking hands, taking photos, doing impromptu interviews with reporters. At 9:43 p.m., I was being photographed with Governor Morrison and Senator Martinez when my phone started vibrating in my clutch. I ignored it. It vibrated again, and again, and again. At 10:15 p.m., during a brief break between interviews, I checked my phone. 47 missed calls. 63 text messages. The notifications were still coming in. The first text was from my mother. "Riley, call me now." From Madison, "What the hell?" From my father, "We need to talk immediately." From Trevor, "Can you explain what's happening?" From Madison again, "You let us think you were nobody." I opened Twitter. The governor's official account had posted photos from the gala with the caption, "Proud to announce the Morrison Infrastructure Initiative with Chief Policy Director Riley Chin, the brilliant mind behind this transformational program. #IL Infrastructure." The photo showed me and Governor Morrison on stage holding the proposal document, both of us smiling. I looked confident, professional, powerful. The tweet had 47,000 likes in 2 hours. It was being shared across every political and news account in Illinois. The Chicago Tribune had already posted an article. Governor Morrison announces $2.3 billion infrastructure initiative, led by 29-year-old policy director Riley Chin. The comments were full of praise. Finally, young leadership in government. This is the kind of public servant we need. Chen's infrastructure equity approach is revolutionary. My personal phone number was probably being passed around my family's wedding reception right now. At 10:47 p.m., my mother called again. This time I answered. "Riley, what is going on? Why are you all over the news? Why is the governor calling you her daughter?" "I'm at the spring gala, Mom. I'm working." "Working? You're on stage with the governor. Madison said you worked at a non-profit." "I haven't worked at a non-profit in 5 years. I'm Chief Policy Director for the governor's infrastructure program. I have been for the past 3 years." Silence. "Then, that's impossible. You never told us. You never said. You never asked. You assumed I was a failure and I let you keep assuming." "Riley, this is insane. Why would you hide this?" "Because you didn't deserve to know. Because you uninvited me from Madison's wedding because my lifestyle would embarrass you. Because you've spent my entire life treating me like I wasn't good enough. Why would I share my success with people who never believed I'd have any? That's not fair. We're your family. No, you're people who share my DNA. Family shows up. Family believes in each other. Family doesn't uninvite someone from a wedding because they might ruin the aesthetic of the photos." My father's voice came on the line. I was on speakerphone. "Riley, you're being unreasonable. We had no idea you had this kind of position. If you'd just told us, you would have what, Dad? Been proud?" Madison literally texted me 3 weeks ago that my presence would ruin her wedding photos. That was after you all decided my work wasn't significant enough to celebrate. "We made a mistake," my mother said, "but you've been lying to us for years." "I didn't lie. I just stopped correcting your assumptions. There's a difference." At that moment, Senator Martinez approached me. "Riley, WGN wants to do a live interview in 5 minutes. You ready?" I held up a finger. 1 minute. "Mom, Dad, I have to go. I have a live television interview about a $2.3 billion program I've spent 3 years building. The same program you would have dismissed as government work if I'd told you about it 2 years ago. Please stop calling." "Riley, wait." I hung up. The live interview with WGN went perfectly. The anchor asked about my background, my vision for the infrastructure program, and what it felt like to be leading such a major initiative at 29. "It feels like responsibility," I said. "I have an obligation to the 12.7 million people in Illinois who'll be affected by these projects. Everything else is noise." Hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to prove yourself to people who never believed in you, because what happened next destroyed every assumption they'd made about me. Back at the Peninsula Hotel, Madison's reception was descending into chaos. According to texts I'd received later from sympathetic cousins, the news about me broke during dinner service. Someone's phone buzzed with a Tribune notification. Then another. Then 10 people were pulling up news articles and Twitter posts. Isn't that Riley? Someone asked, showing Madison a photo of me in my emerald gown, standing on stage with the governor. Madison grabbed the phone. Her face went white. That can't be right, Trevor said, reading over her shoulder. Riley works at a nonprofit. She lives in a studio apartment. My mother was already on her phone, frantically searching my name. Every result was about the infrastructure program, my role as chief policy director, my profile in Governing magazine. Oh my God, Mom whispered. She's been lying to us for years. A guest overheard, one of Trevor's medical school colleagues. Wait, the Riley Chin whose chief policy director is your sister? He's incredible. Her infrastructure equity model is being studied in policy schools across the country. You know about her work? Madison asked weakly. Everyone in public health administration knows about Riley Chin. Her approach to infrastructure connects directly to health outcomes in low-income communities. She's brilliant. Madison's perfect wedding was unraveling. Half the guests were on their phones, reading about her sister's achievements. The other half were asking why Riley wasn't at the wedding. Where is your sister? Trevor's mother asked my parents. Why isn't she here celebrating with you? My mother had no answer that wouldn't reveal the truth. They'd uninvited me because they were ashamed of me. At 11:30 p.m. I received a text from Madison. We need to talk. Now. I was still at the gala, networking with representatives who wanted to discuss the infrastructure program. I ignored the text. At midnight, my parents showed up at the Hilton. Security called me. Miss Chin, there are 2 people here claiming to be your parents. They're demanding to see you. Tell them I'm unavailable. I'm working. They're causing a scene in the lobby. I sighed. I'll be down in 5 minutes. I found them in the lobby, still dressed in their formal wedding attire. My mother was crying. My father looked angry. Riley, this is ridiculous, Dad said. You've embarrassed the entire family. I've embarrassed you? I just helped announce a $2.3 billion program that will create 47,000 jobs. How exactly is that embarrassing? You knew about Madison's wedding. You knew tonight was important to her. And you knew I was uninvited. Madison made it very clear that my presence would ruin the photos. I respected her wishes. I stayed away. But you could have told us about this gala. About your position. Why? So you could tell me government work isn't as prestigious as being a doctor? So you could find ways to diminish what I've accomplished? So Madison could claim I was trying to upstage her wedding? My mother grabbed my arm. Riley, please. People are talking. Madison is devastated. This is supposed to be her special day. It still is. I'm not at her wedding. I'm at my own career milestone, which happens to be on the same day. The universe chose the timing, not me. But the photos, the news coverage, everyone at the wedding is talking about you instead of Madison. I gently removed my mother's hand from my arm. That's not my problem. I didn't seek this attention. The governor decided to make this announcement tonight. I don't control the news cycle, and I don't control what people choose to discuss at Madison's reception. You could have warned us, my father said, given us time to prepare. Like you warned me before deciding I wasn't good enough to attend my own sister's wedding? Like you prepared me before years of telling me my work wasn't significant? Like Madison prepared me before texting that my presence would ruin her photos. Security approached discreetly. Miss Chin, the governor is looking for you. The WGN interview is about to air and she wants to watch it with you. Thank you. I'll be right there. I turned back to my parents. I have to go. Congratulations on Madison's wedding. I hope the rest of the night goes well. Riley, wait. No. I'm done waiting for you to see me. I'm done hoping you'll be proud. I'm done trying to earn love from people who've made it clear I'm not worth their respect. You taught me exactly how much I was worth to you. I just raised my price. I walked away. They didn't follow. The news cycle was relentless. By Sunday morning, the Morrison Infrastructure Initiative was front-page news across Illinois. And every story prominently featured me. The Chicago Tribune ran a profile. Meet Riley Chin, the 29-year-old behind Illinois' biggest infrastructure program. It included my background, my policy achievements, and a quote from Governor Morrison calling me the most talented policy mind of her generation. The Daily Herald ran the headline, Governor Morrison calls policy director, the daughter I never had, in emotional infrastructure announcement. Social media exploded with support. #RileyChin was trending in Illinois by Sunday afternoon, with people praising young women in government, discussing the infrastructure program and sharing the photos of me and Governor Morrison. Madison's wedding coverage, which should have been in the society pages, was buried. The Tribune mentioned it in a 3-sentence brief. The photo they chose showed Madison and Trevor looking tense. It must have been taken after news broke about me. By Monday morning, my inbox had 347 media requests. Rachel, the chief of staff, helped me filter them down to major outlets only. Tuesday, I did interviews with NPR, The Wall Street Journal, and a national morning show. Each one focused on the infrastructure program, but they all asked about Governor Morrison calling me the daughter she never had. "It's an incredible honor," I told the Today Show. "Governor Morrison has been a mentor who saw potential in me when others didn't. She taught me that leadership means doing the work without needing constant recognition. I'm grateful every day for her belief in me." The interviewer asked, "Your family must be very proud." I paused for just a moment. "I hope they are. But I've learned that building something meaningful matters more than external validation, even from family." The 12.7 million people in Illinois who'll benefit from this infrastructure program, they're who I'm accountable to. That clip went viral. People understood exactly what I wasn't saying directly. Within a week, the consequences for my family became clear. Madison called me 17 times. I didn't answer. Finally, she sent a text. "Riley, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was jealous and insecure and I took it out on you. Please call me back." I didn't respond. My parents sent a letter to my condo, delivered by courier because they didn't want to trust the mail. It was 3 pages of apologies, explanations, and requests to talk through this as a family. I filed it away unread. Trevor's medical practice got unexpected attention. A journalist writing a follow-up piece about me mentioned that my sister had gotten married the same night as the governor's gala. The article noted, somewhat pointedly, that RileyChin was notably absent from her sister's wedding, attending instead to her responsibilities as chief policy director. People connected the dots. The Whisper network in Chicago's medical and social circles is vicious. Within days, everyone knew that Madison's family had uninvited RileyChin, the RileyChin who was now all over the news, from the wedding because they thought she wasn't successful enough. Trevor's mother was mortified. Madison's friends were embarrassed to admit they'd been there. The beautiful wedding photos Madison had been so concerned about protecting, they represented a massive miscalculation that would follow her for years. My parents faced their own reckoning. At their country club, at their church, in their social circles, everyone was talking about their daughter who'd been working with the governor while they dismissed her as a failure. "We didn't know," became my mother's constant refrain. But people asked the obvious question, how could you not know what your own daughter was doing? The answer reflected badly on them, not me. 6 weeks after the wedding, I received a formal letter from Madison. It wasn't an email or a text. It was handwritten on expensive stationery, probably the same paper she'd used for her wedding invitations. "Riley, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve the chance to explain. But I need you to know that I'm sorry, truly, deeply sorry for everything. You were right about all of it. I was jealous. I've always been jealous. You were the creative one, the one with actual passion for your work. I became a doctor because it was expected, not because I loved it. You built something meaningful. I just followed a script." When Trevor's family started talking about the wedding photos and image and presentation, I panicked. I thought if you were there, people would compare us. And I was terrified they'd see what I already knew, that you were always more interesting, more driven, more genuinely successful than I could ever be. I convinced myself I was protecting Trevor's family's image. Really, I was protecting my own ego. I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that you didn't deserve what I did. You deserved a sister who celebrated your achievements, not one who tried to hide you. I'm proud of you, Riley. I should have said that years ago. Madison. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer with my parents' unopened letter. Some apologies come too late to change anything. They're not about making things right. They're about making the apologizer feel better. I wasn't interested in making my family feel better. 8 months after that night, I'm sitting in my office in the state capitol building. A corner office with a view and a door that says RileyChin, Chief Policy Director, Morrison Infrastructure Initiative. The program is in full implementation. We've broken ground on 47 projects across Illinois. We've created 14,200 jobs in the first phase alone. We're ahead of schedule and under budget. Governor Morrison is talking about running for a second term with infrastructure as her signature achievement. And she wants me to stay on as Chief Policy Director for the entire program duration. 5 years total. You're the face of this initiative, Riley, she told me last week. The public trusts you. The legislature respects you. You've earned this. I'm honored, Governor. And I'm proud of you. I know your family situation is complicated, but I want you to know, you have a family here. My husband and I think of you as our daughter. That's not just political rhetoric. It's true. I actually cried hearing that. Governor Morrison had been more of a parent to me in 3 years than my actual parents had been in 29. Last month, I bought a lake house in Michigan. A beautiful 3-bedroom cottage on Lake Michigan where I can escape on weekends. Cost $680,000, which I paid in cash from my savings and investments. I sent my parents a postcard from the lake house with a photo of the sunset over the water. On the back I wrote, "Building the life I always wanted. Hope you're well." Or, I didn't include my address. They don't need it. Madison sends me birthday cards now. Christmas cards with photos of her and Trevor. I don't respond, but I don't throw them away either. Maybe someday I'll want to reconnect. Maybe I won't. Either way, it's my choice made on my timeline. My team at work has become my chosen family. We grab drinks on Fridays, celebrate each other's wins, and support each other through the inevitable challenges of government work. They're the family that shows up. Last week, I was invited to speak at the University of Illinois School of Urban Planning, my alma mater. I talked to a room of 200 students about building a career in public service, about finding meaning in work that actually helps people. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. "My family doesn't think public policy is a real career. How do you deal with people who don't take your work seriously?" I smiled. You build something so undeniably real that their opinions become irrelevant. You do the work because it matters to you, not because you're trying to prove something to them. And eventually, you realize that the people who truly matter will see your value. The ones who don't, they were never your people anyway. The auditorium erupted in applause. After the talk, the dean pulled me aside. "Riley, we'd love to have you back as a guest lecturer next semester. Maybe teach a seminar on infrastructure policy." I'd be honored. Walking across campus that day felt full circle. I'd left this place 10 years ago as the family disappointment who'd chosen the wrong major. I came back as the Chief Policy Director reshaping our state's future. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Trevor, Madison's husband. I know you don't want to hear from the family, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I should have said something that night at the engagement party when they dismissed your work. I should have defended you at the wedding planning when Madison suggested uninviting you. I didn't, and that makes me complicit in hurting you. You deserved better. I hope someday you can forgive us." I stared at that text for a long time. Then I typed, "I appreciate you saying that. I'm not ready for reconciliation, but I recognize it took courage to reach out. I wish you and Madison well." It was the truth. I did wish them well. But wishing someone well doesn't mean inviting them back into your life. Some bridges burn because they were never structurally sound to begin with. You don't rebuild them. You build better ones somewhere else. If you've ever had to walk away from toxic family to save yourself, tell me your story in the comments. What would you have done? Does any of this feel familiar? And if you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have believed in you most, hit that like button because you're not alone. The infrastructure program will be my legacy. Governor Morrison's belief in me changed my life. And the family I've built through my work, through choosing people who show up and respect me, that's the real success story. My sister texted that my presence would ruin her wedding photos. He was wrong. My absence from her wedding didn't ruin anything. It just revealed exactly what matters. Showing up for people who value you, building something meaningful, and never apologizing for success you earned yourself. You're not alone. You never were.